Breaking news now. The stalemate in Ukraine is expected to persist for another year due to various factors. Vladimir Putin has a bright future ahead of him. The much-touted Ukrainian counteroffensive has yielded few tangible results on the ground, fueling growing concerns in the West that their tax dollars are funding an expensive standstill. Russian counterattacks have achieved little, but the Kremlin still controls about 18% of Ukraine's land due to its entrenched forces' ability to absorb Ukrainian blows without retreating. This year, Russia has launched more missiles than ever before and increased its domestic missile and ammunition production. North Korea's material aid is substantial, and Iran's addition of drones is useful. Putin also has cause to rejoice as a result of Israel's war with Hamas. The violence in Gaza has had a profound effect on domestic politics in the United States and Europe. Support for Israel and humanitarian aid for Palestinian civilians trapped in harm's way have taken priority over aid that might have gone to Ukraine from the West. Tensions within the West are already high due to the fact that Washington and European governments are at odds over this battle, as they are over Ukraine. The war in Gaza also helps Russia argue that America is run by neocolonialist hypocrites who make righteous speeches about human rights in Ukraine while green-lighting Israel's assault on Palestinians who can't flee as Ukrainians have. President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine is being quietly warned by Western leaders that time is not on his country's side. More U.S. aid to Ukraine is likely despite ongoing disputes in Washington over Ukraine funding. Even if Congress doesn't give President Biden every dime of the $60 billion he's asked for in military funding, he should be able to get a sizable chunk of it. However, doubts about continued U.S. backing are gaining ground. However, Western efforts to encourage Zelensky to start bargaining with Putin appear to be stalling. The president of Ukraine cannot give up territory that was taken despite the sacrifice of thousands of soldiers. That's especially true now, when other voices are gaining traction in Ukraine, like Valery Zaluzhny, the country's top military commander, who has spoken publicly in support of holding elections in the midst of the conflict, and he's under increasing pressure to change his mind. Is there anything the West could offer Zelensky to get him to start negotiating with Putin? Economically, the West could threaten to seize Russia's frozen assets in order to pay for the country's full rebuilding. Membership in the European Union is a possibility. In terms of defense, NATO membership with all the accompanying protections could be offered. However, if Russia continues to launch missiles across Ukraine, members on both sides of the Atlantic will be reluctant to commit to war and send in large numbers of troops and weapons. In 2024, the United States can provide Ukraine with more sophisticated weapon systems, and in July of 2019, at NATO's 75th anniversary summit, leaders can make a decision on Ukraine's membership. But what if Donald Trump actually becomes president? What repercussions would that have on NATO obligations and the alliance's long-term viability? No one is sure of the answers to these inquiries. With this information in mind, Putin has no intention of making any credible concession that Zelensky could reasonably be expected to accept. Russia's leader can easily muster an army that outnumbers Ukraine's, and then use them as kindling. He can also choose to wait and see what the next year brings for Western support and what the outcome of the upcoming American election is. Zelensky is well aware of all this, so he has no reason to offer anything that Putin would interpret as a sign of weakness.